Hello everybody, Gage here from Sharp. Super excited to have you back for another episode of our new series called the Roundup series, where we focus on a specific shape every week. We collect every single knife we have in that shape in the shop available at the time of recording the video, and we spend 30 seconds talking about each knife to give you guys an idea of which knife might be right for you. In today's episode, we are talking all about gyutos. So without further ado, we're going to get all of our gyutos out on the table here and start talking about each one. Okay, so we've got all of our gyutos set out here. So without further ado, Jake, set the timer and let's get started. Okay guys, we're gonna start with some rapid fire stuff here, starting with Tsukunari Himono. So we have a number of sort of one-off pieces of these guys in stock right now. They are for the most part made from ZDP 189, which is a super steel, stainless, super high Rockwell rating on these guys, around 66 to 68 on them. So really, really amazing edge retention on these guys. We've got some 210s, some 240s, and some 270s. Some of them have the Kiritsuke style tip on them. Some of them have the more classic Gyuto style tip on them. They are beautiful, beautiful knives. Fit and finish on these guys is next to perfect. Beautiful handles, really, really cool horn ferrules on these guys. Some of them this blonde color, some a darker black color. Relatively normal width at the spine, I would argue, and thin but not like crazy thin behind the edge on these guys. And because of the steel that they're made from, they are actually quite robust knives. So we like to refer to these as our working man gyutos. Moving on to the Kikazuki series, the Kurouchi series to be exact. These are beautiful, beautiful knives. I'm holding the 240 gyuto here. We do have a 210 in stock, and we have some Kiritsukes in stock as well. They are an ironclad knife, so one of the more reactive knives to rust and discoloration in the shop. Needs to be kept dry and clean. Forged by Yoshikazu Tanaka. These are gorgeous, gorgeous blades, sharpened beautifully. Really beautiful kasumi finish on them. Really, really nice edge geometry. They are quite thin behind the edge, so in addition to their rust resistance or lack thereof, they are a little bit on the chippier side, so keep that in mind. But super high performance on these guys, an absolute joy to sharpen as well. Really comfortable octagonal handles, suitable for right or left-handed users, with buffalo horn ferrules and magnolia handles on them. Yeah, gorgeous. Moving on. Next, we're taking a look at the Seki Kenitsugu Kiritsuke. So not a gyuto, a Kiritsuke, but sort of similar shape. We included this one because it is sort of like a chef's knife, Kiritsuke hybrid sort of thing. So really, really cool knife. Heptagonal or 7-sided handle on these guys. A little bit of a divisive handle you may see in the product reviews on our website as well. Some people really love this handle, some people don't. I personally find it quite comfortable. The flat part at the top of the handle feels really nice in the hand. It's not super light, it's not super heavy by any means. It balances right about here. Made from SG2 stainless steel with a beautiful Damascus pattern on it. Really, really high performing knife. Again, SG2 is a quick powdered stainless tool steel, super steel, so really good edge retention on these guys, and we get really good feedback on them. So, okay, moving on to the Tosaichi 240mm Gyuto made from Aogami Super with a stainless cladding. These guys are awesome knives. They are affordable relative to some of the other stuff that we carry, and they perform at a very, very high level. These guys are definitely in the laser status. They are thin at the spine, very thin behind the edge. So if you're looking for like total performance, these guys are a great option. They are a little bit more delicate, so be aware of that. We have had some come back with some pretty sizable chips in them, so just be aware of what you're getting yourself into with this guy as a super high performing knife, but a little bit on the delicate side. Octagonal handle shape, so suitable for righties and lefties. Buffalo horn ferrule, really, really nicely done. Fit and finish is super nice. Comfortable in the hand, quite light knife, and balances pretty far forward right about there. This Gyuto's got a nice profile to it. You can use it in a rocking motion. You can use it in an up and down chopping motion. Great for slicing. Really easy sharpening on these guys as well because they're made from Aogami Super, which is my favorite carbon steel. Good Rockwell rating on these guys, around 62 to 63 if I'm not mistaken. So again, for the price, really, really awesome knife. Moving on to the Itetsu Nashiji series, another 240, another stainless clad knife made from Aogami number 2, so arguably not quite as nice a steel as the Aogami Super. Beautiful Nashiji finish on these guys, and a really quite chunky but very comfortable and really cool, unique looking handle on these guys. A lot of our barbecue aficionados that come into the shop gravitate towards these guys. If you got big mitts, these handles feel really good in the hand as well. Great knife for slicing big pieces of meat, chopping veggies, all sorts of stuff. If you're interested in a sort of like Japanese aesthetic, but you prefer sort of more Western feeling handle, this guy is a great option. Again, balance point on this guy is pretty far forward again. Ooh, almost lost her there, right about there. And I would not go as far to say as this is a workhorse, but it is a little bit thicker at the spine and is quite thin behind the edge actually, but we don't get a ton of these back with chips in them or anything like that, so I would say a little bit more robust than the Tosaichi we just looked at there. Fantastic knife, easy sharpening again. You have to keep it dry and clean because of the carbon steel at the core, but it's got that stainless cladding over top, so Tetsu Nashiji. Next, moving on to the Tetsu Tsushime line. This guy's a full stainless knife. It is the most affordable, if I'm not mistaken, gyuto that we have on offering right now. It does not mean it's a bad knife by any means. In fact, I have one of these at home and I use it for like squash and sweet potato, and I find that it performs super, super well. Also because of the price and because of the steel and the relative like robustness of this knife, I don't have to worry too much about it when I'm doing harder ingredients like that. So if I do chip it, I'm not super worried about it. It's not like a $700 knife, but it's also a little bit more robust, like I said, and I've never had any issues going through like squash and sweet potato with this guy. Still has a really cool hand-hammered finish on it, that more Western style handle, if that's to your liking. Triple riveted, so very, very robust, long-lasting handle on these guys. Wouldn't put it in the dishwasher still, but might survive a couple chips there. I wouldn't call it laser status, like I said, but I wouldn't call it a workhorse either. It is a little bit thin behind the edge, so again, really nice performance. Are you going to get the best edge retention on this guy? Probably not, but for the price, still a fantastic option. Okay, I just forgot the 210s. All the things that I said about the 240 apply to the 210, so we'll cut it there. All right, next, Mutsumi Hinora's 240mm gyuto. This guy's beautiful. It's got that really cool tsushime finish with a kurouchi finish over top of it as well. So I'm a huge fan of this aesthetic. It looks super cool. These knives are beautifully sharpened. Just past the cladding line, this guy's a stainless clad knife. The steel is polished beautifully. I can see my ugly mug in it right now as I talk to you. Not super thin at the spine, but comes very, very thin behind the edge. So I wouldn't quite put this again in laser status, but it is going to be a little bit on the delicate side, but it's going to be a joy to sharpen. It performs super high level. Fit and finish is really nice. Handle and tang come together nicely. No sanding on the spine, or a little bit of sanding on the spine. Not much happening in the choil here. Not uncomfortable by any means though. The handle is oval shaped, made from magnolia, and has a buffalo horn ferrule, so suitable for righties and lefties on this guy as well. And again, the 240, as you probably know by now, is great for slicing larger pieces of meat, bigger vegetables. If you can handle a 240, there's pretty much nothing you can't do. We've got a couple more 240s to look at here, but I'll make a point about the 240 shape right now. If it seems a little bit long, don't fret. Anyone can use a 240 in my opinion, especially if you change your grip from the more home cook oriented like hammer grip and get yourself using more of a pinch grip. Moving your hand up the blade like that is going to make it a lot easier to control this amount of knife. And if you do need the entire blade, you can always choke back a little bit when you need to and get the entirety of the blade in action. So don't be afraid of a 240. They are awesome. Now we're going to get into some knives from Kurosaki-san. We've got a number of knives to look at from him. I'll start off with his Senko series made from SG2, of which we have two sizes, the 210 and also the 240. I'll talk about both sort of together. The Senko line has this beautiful tsushime or hand-hammered finish on it. Really, especially when you catch the light, it really shows the pattern off nicely, makes the knife look really beautiful. Again, R2, quick powdered stainless tool steel, so really, really good edge retention on these guys and really good rust resistance. A little bit different from Kurosaki-san's normal work. These guys, again, are not workhorses by any means, but they are not as laser thin as the rest of Kurosaki-san's work, meaning they are great for a first-time Japanese knife. They're not going to chip on you quite as easily as some of his other work, and they still do have really good edge geometry on them, so they're going to move through ingredients really well still. Again, 210 coming in around 8 inches in the, actually this is a 270. They sent us 270s in 240 boxes, so we got a little confused there. We do have them on the site now, but this guy's a monster. Look at that. Whoa, super cool. So 270s, great for slicing. Everything I said about the 240 would apply to the 270, just even more. Cool, last things about the Senko line, octagonal in shape, oak handle with purple heart ferrule, really comfortable in the hand. Balance point is much like all of Kurosaki-san's work, a little bit further forward of the tang there. Next, from Kurosaki-san, we have his Gecko lineup. This is made from HAP 40. We have a 210 in stock now. We have 240 on the way. So by the time we post this video, it should be up on the site. If not, give it a couple days and it's probably going to be there. HAP 40 is a semi-stainless, so you do still need to make sure these stay dry and clean. They're not going to give you quite as much trouble as a fully carbon steel blade, of course, but just take note of that. You want to keep this guy dry and clean. It will develop like a little patina and it looks really, really beautiful. The Wenge handle is octagonal in shape, so suitable for righties and lefties. I personally am a huge fan of the mono style handle with no ferrule, and I love the figuring in Wenge. I think it looks super, super cool, so this knife is right up my alley. Again, sort of what I said about the Senko applies to this guy as well. Not laser thin behind the edge, but certainly not workhorse status. So again, if you're a little bit apprehensive because you've maybe read that Yu's work is a little delicate, I wouldn't worry too much about this guy. And again, with that HAP 40 semi-stainless, really high Rockwell hardness on this guy, so gonna hold its edge a long time. Might give you a little trouble if you're new to sharpening, but I'm sure you'll get it figured out. All right, second to last knife from Yu Kurosaki is the Fujin VG10 series. So this guy is made from stainless steel, not gonna rust or discolor on you. VG10 is made specifically for kitchen cutlery, so it makes for a great knife. Good edge retention, good sharpenability. Fujin line from Yu Kurosaki is definitely encroaching in on laser status. It gets really thin behind the edge, super, super sharp right out of the box. Beautiful, beautiful knife. Fujin being the god of wind, the tsushime or hand-hammered pattern on this knife is supposed to sort of emulate like wind strokes, and then it's also got this beautiful Damascus pattern on the beveling here as well. Wenge handle made from Wenge, octagonal in shape, so suitable for righties and lefties. Again, love this look, love the no ferrule. Fit and finish on these guys is really nice. The glue up is pretty darn good. Maybe not the best I've seen from Yu Kurosaki, but certainly passable for sure. Balance point on this guy is going to be very similar to the rest of his work, which is about an inch from the tang and handle insertion point. Really, really nice, comfortable feel in the hand. Beautiful, beautiful knife. Last knife from Yu Kurosaki is his 240 Gyuto from the Raijin series. This guy's made from Cobalt Special, which is very similar to R2 in our experience. Performs almost exactly the same in terms of edge retention and sharpenability and all that sort of stuff. Just has a different name, pretty much, is what we've ascertained from having used it and sharpened it. The Raijin series is meant to sort of look like lightning strokes, Raijin being the god of thunder in Japanese mythology. These guys have, again, mono octagonal handles. This guy is made from keyaki, which is this kind of like really orange looking wood. Looks really cool. Much better looking in person than it looks on the website, I'll admit. Octagonal in shape, so suitable for righties and lefties. Laser status to the max on this guy. If there was ever laser, then this guy is it. Super, super thin behind the edge. Really, really nice wide bevels on this guy. Cutting feel on this is absolutely incredible. It is a very delicate knife though. Not in terms of rusting, of course, but chipping and stuff like that, you're gonna have to be really careful with this guy. No torquing, twisting this blade, or you're gonna have issues. Balance point on this guy again, right about there. And very comfortable in the hand, sanded down at the spine and in the choil here. Really, really nice knife from Yu Kurosaki. Moving on to Yu's older brother, we've got Makoto Kurosaki's Style K line. These guys are made from R2 again. Stainless steel, so no rust or anything on this guy. We've got a 210 and a 240 in stock right now. These guys are quite thin behind or at the spine and thin behind the edge, but we find very few people have issues in terms of chipping with these guys. So if you're looking for an easy to maintain knife, both in terms of rusting and proneness or lack thereof to chipping, then this guy's a great option. Really unique handles on these guys. We don't see handles this color very often. So we've got American cherry and blonde packawood ferrule on top. Or sorry, no, these are a maple ferrule. Really, really cool aesthetic. Octagonal in shape again, so righties and lefties can use this guy. Nicely sanded at the spine and in the choil here. This is a very popular knife, both the 210 and the 240 in the store. People really like these guys, and for good reason. They're high-performing knives, and they're relatively affordable. All right, we'll finish off the Takefu Knife Village offerings that we have right now with the 240 Gyuto from Yoshimi Kato. Again, R2 stainless steel with a black Damascus pattern on this guy. We've had the VG10 line up of this sort of black Damascus pattern, and they weren't super to our taste. They felt a little bit too delicate and almost like flimsy, but these guys, not much thicker, if any thicker at all, but they just seem to have a much more robust feel in the hand, even though they are very thin both at the spine and behind the edge. So you'll get really good cutting performance out of them, but they won't be quite as delicate as the VG10 line. Again, really beautiful handles on these guys. We've got rosewood handle with a red Paka ferrule on it, contrasts with the black Damascus really nicely. We do find most black Damascus knives are slightly reactive, even though they are considered a stainless steel, so just be aware of that. Also, this textured feel on the blade here can get caught up a little bit as you're cutting through things. I don't find that this one's super bad there, but just something to be aware of. Super sharp out of the box. Balances right about here. And fit and finish on this guy's beautiful. Choil nicely sanded down, spine nicely sanded down, tang and handle insertion point really nice. All right, near to the end, guys. Third last knife we're going to look at is the Sakai Kikomori SG2 Migaki finished Gyuto with a brown Packawood Western style handle on it. If you're looking for like a more French German style knife in terms of like the handle feel and the sort of general aesthetic, but you want like a really nice Japanese steel and that really nice Japanese edge geometry, then this guy's right up your alley. Sort of a no frills knife. It looks really beautiful in that it's so minimal looking. The Migaki polish on this guy is really, really nice. And then you've got that nice cladding line close to the edge of the knife. So really, really beautiful knife in my opinion. Super high performing. I would put this almost into laser category. I would think it gets quite thin behind the edge. So super high performance. Nice flat spot in there, so you can use it in an up and down chopping motion, you can use it in a rocking motion. It has a balance point more similar to a German knife as well, so a little bit further back towards the handle there. Welded integral bolster here, so you're not going to get any food or anything moisture related into the handle here, so this handle will last a really long time. Second to last knife is the Shigeki Tanaka 240mm Gyuto with Damascus pattern, made from VG10 stainless steel again. We're a little low on the carbon steels if you hadn't noticed. I think there's a bit of a material shortage going on, but anyways, VG10 again, specifically made for kitchen cutlery, so good edge retention, good sharpenability, octagonal walnut handle with black Packawood ferrule on this guy, suitable for righties and lefties. Choil is not really sanded down, spine's not super sanded down, comfortable feel. You just get a couple of little sharp spots in there maybe that you could sand down if you need to. I would put this guy into the laser status as well, so quite thin behind the edge, really high performance on these guys, but maybe a little bit on the delicate side. Balance point right about there, pretty similar to other 240s, which is about 1.5 inches, 2 inches off the handle and tang insertion point. Fit and finish on this guy is really nice as well. This is just a little sticker here. I would recommend taking it off for hygienic purposes, though I know a lot of people try to keep them on for as long as they can. Yeah, beautiful knife and super high performance. I feel like I say that for every knife, but it's true. We don't have low performing knives. Last knife, and it's not for any reason. These guys from Kawamura-san in the 240 length Beautiful, beautiful knives. Kind of interesting tip shape on these guys. Gets really, really pointy here. These have a stainless cladding over top of shirogami carbon steel, and they have a beautiful rosewood handle with buffalo horn ferrule on them. Octagonal in shape, so suitable for righties and lefties. Beautiful nashiji sort of hand. It's kind of like a cross between a tsushime and a nashiji finish. Really unique. Kawamura-san's the only one that we've ever come across that makes a finish sort of similar to this. His knives are a little bit rustic, so keep that in mind. Some of them are, I mean, they're all reasonably straight, and we, of course, will not send out anything that's like super wonky, but just keep in mind that these guys are definitely on the more rustic side. They're all going to perform at a really high level, and they've got really nice edge geometry on them. Not workhorse, but not laser, somewhere in between. But because they're made from shirogami, you do have to be a little bit cautious in terms of chipping, and then of course they are susceptible to rust. Balance point, whoa, right about there. And choil feels nice, but it is a little sharp in here, and spine is nicely sanded down, but you could maybe sand it down a little bit further. All right, guys, so there's all the gyutos that we have in stock at the recording time of this video. Next step is for us to break them all down into the three categories that we discussed in the Nikiri Roundup, which are discerning home cooks and professionals who work in sort of like more fine dining, lower volume settings, where you're not cranking a ton of stuff out, and you have the time and patience to take care of your knife. Then we're gonna do high volume professionals. These are guys that are just cranking stuff out, still making delicious, beautiful food, I'm sure, but volume is the name of the game here, and sometimes you don't always have time to properly maintain your knife, so we'll separate some into a category there. The second category also included home cooks who are sort of beginners, so you're looking for something that's easy to maintain, not gonna chip on you super easily. So let's split them up. All right, we're back, and we said we were gonna do two categories, but we ended up doing three anyways. So on my left, we've got our beginner and high volume options. On my right, we have our discerning home cook and like fine dining, low volume kitchens. And then we've got sort of an in-between section here. So I'll start with the beginner stuff. From the beginner side, we've got the Itetsu gyutos here, 210 and 240. Not gonna develop rust. The most affordable option that we have in the shop. Still high performing, but not gonna chip, not gonna rust. So this is probably the most beginner-friendly lineup of knives that we have in the shop. Next, we'll talk about the Makotos. Again, same sort of things apply to the Makoto as did the Itetsus there. On the more affordable side, not prone to rusting, not prone to chipping. So again, a very, very suitable knife for a beginner. 210 and 240 size. Next, the Seki Kenitsugu. Again, pretty much exactly what I said about the other two knives. Not gonna rust, not gonna chip super easily. Very easy to maintain knife, but still really high performer. Lastly, the Senko. This is the only one that if we could do a fourth category, sort of in between the in-between category and the beginner category, that's where we would put this one, because it is the thinnest of the more robust knives that we have. So certainly not getting into this range here, but in comparison to the other four knives here, maybe a little bit more prone to chipping. Still completely rust resistant though, so still a great beginner option. Now, for our in-between section, we've got a number of knives here, and Jake and I kind of discussed all these options, and we decided that these are kind of in-between options for various reasons, either for the price and what you get for that price, or because you know, they kind of fit into both categories, and I'll use these Tsukunaris to help describe that. So these are not cheap knives by any means. You might not be able to see the price tag on this, but this particular one is $735. So not a cheap knife, super high performing knife, beautiful, beautiful knife, but very robust, and it's gonna stand up to a lot of abuse. So we describe these again as like our sort of like collector, someone who appreciates a really nice knife, but who's also needs something that's gonna stand up to a little bit of abuse. So the Tsukunaris are kind of in between for that reason. We've got the Itetsu Nashiji and the Tosaichi Aogami Super, both in the middle range here. These both have stainless claddings on them, so while they are prone to rust and discoloration, as a beginner, you only have to worry about the very edge of the knife. You've got a stainless cladding protecting the majority of this blade, so they're a little less prone to rusting than a fully ironclad blade. And they're some of the more affordable options that we have in the shop, so they're great for beginners just looking for, you know, not the most expensive knife in the world, but one that's going to perform at a really high level, and one that's, you know, a little bit more difficult to maintain than a fully stainless steel knife, but not terrible. The next knife we have in this category is the Sakai Kikomori. This guy is fully stainless, so not going to develop any rust or anything. Sort of in between because of how thin it is, so it's not quite a beginner knife because it is a little bit on the chippy side. And still kind of fits into the professional side because of how high performing this knife is and how thin it is. So yeah, that's why this guy's kind of in the middle. And then I guess I would say the same sort of about the Yu Kurosaki knives that we have in the middle here as well. This guy's not prone to rust at all, but a little bit on the thinner side behind the edge, so maybe a little prone to chipping. You want to be a little bit more delicate with this than you would be with your Senko from Yu Kurosaki. And then the Gecko, though not very prone to chipping, is still semi-stainless. So as a beginner home cook, you may forget to wipe it down once in a while, and this guy will develop rust if really poorly neglected. So you know, not super difficult to maintain, so it's still like could be maintained properly by a home cook, but also has that sort of performance and a little bit of the price tag of the more professional higher end stuff on this side. All right, to touch on our higher end offerings here, a lot of the knives that we have in this section are in this section because of their price tag. You know, not every beginner or chef in this range is going to be willing or able to spend as much as they would like to on a knife like this. So that's one reason. The other reason is they are all, for individual reasons, more difficult to maintain or keep from chipping. So for instance, like the Mutsumi Hinora or the Kikazuki, both prone to rusting and both quite prone to chipping as well because of the carbon steel and the edge geometry. For Yu Kurosaki, not rust resistant, but super delicate knife and very prone to chipping, so that's why this guy's in this section. Same could be said about the Kato-san. Kawamura-san's knife I would lump into the same category as the Mutsumi and the Kikazuki here, so quite prone to chipping and can develop rust. And then finally the Tanaka Gyuto here, not going to rust, but is quite thin behind the edge, so you got to be a little bit aware when using this guy to avoid chipping. There you have it, guys. The Gyuto Roundup. The time of filming this video is February 14th, Valentine's Day in 2022. So this is what we have on offer for Gyutos. If you have any more specific questions about any of the knives, leave us a comment down below. But until the next video, thank you for watching and stay sharp.